to a brand new SPSM Chat 3.0. My name is Rudy Caseres, and I'm excited for our guest this week. Stephanie Sampson, MS, is going to be talking about art therapy and its connection with suicide prevention. So she's going to talk about all the cool things that she's doing. But I want to hear for all of you, turn that shit down. I want to hear from all of you and all the stuff that you got going on in your life. So introduce yourselves, whether you are in the Twitter chat, whether you are on Facebook, facebook.com/SPSM Chat for the Twitterverse. We're also on YouTube as well as Mixer. So if you're from any of those platforms, let us know that you're here and show us some love. We're talking about art therapy in suicide prevention with Stephanie Sampson, MS, but we're also blessed to have two lovely co-hosts. You may know them as Danielle Glick and Hudson Harris, and you would be correct. So let's go around the squared rectangle and start with Hudson. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Hudson Harris. I am a behavioral health designer. I work on how to design better systems of care for behavioral health care and also how to help private companies bring all that amazing technology that's out there into the behavioral health world through things like artificial intelligence and technology-enabled care. So very excited.
You're still a mental strategist?
I am still mental strategy. Yes.
Cool. And will we be blessed with a piggy update later tonight?
Yes, Sir Hamlet Pig is very excited to say hello to everyone.
Awesome. Let's take it to Danielle.
Hey, everyone. So I'm Danielle. As everybody who watches regularly knows, I am a therapist that works with children and family. I'm currently working on receiving my certification as an alcohol and drug counselor before heading, hopefully, fingers crossed if I get in somewhere, for my PhD in clinical psychology next year. So my focus will be on mood disorders, and suicide, as well as substance abuse.
I like your lipstick, by the way.
I like your face, and thank you.
Awesome, I shaved. And let us take it to our guest of the hour. Tell the whole world, the whole SPSM Chat universe, galaxy, planet, you know the deal. Who is Stephanie Sampson?
I am an art therapy and counseling graduate. I currently work in a hospital in an inpatient setting. So I deal with children, adolescents, adults, and seniors.
And before we start, let's see if we can take it to the Twitter chat. Do we have the Twitter chat open? I can see if we got that. Krista Marie is running our back end, our broadcast for today, so I can't thank her enough. Go follow her. Let's see. Let's get some shout outs before we start. Let's go back to our Brady Bunch. There we go. Awesome. So if you're joining us on the Twitter, make sure to use the hashtag SPSM. There we go. People's opinions are their own and not those of their employer, unless you're working for me. Which, if you want to do that, by all means, don't. So, can we scroll down and see if anyone is here? I feel like, is there like a Super Bowl going on, or is there something that I'm not aware of? Hudson?
It's a holiday weekend.
Hey, I'm a veteran and I'm here, damn it, okay? Like, I can wait until tomorrow to get that Denny's free breakfast. Hey, Michelle, how are you? There's a true league leader right there. So before we start with our first question at the 10-minute mark, does anyone have any questions for Stephanie or want to say anything specifically about art therapy? Methinks Danielle Glick has something to say.
I always have something to say, don't I? I love Stephanie. She's one of my best friends, and when I struggle to kind of think of things to do with some of the clients that I work with, I call her for some creative suggestions. And sometimes she actually does creative arts therapy interventions with me because I think that some people know this, some may not, but I'm someone who has lived experience. I've attempted and thankfully survived my own suicide attempts, and I've also lost several people to suicide, including my boyfriend back in 2014. And she, in our friendship, utilizes a lot of the work that she does with the patients in the hospital, with me. And I do find it very effective. And sometimes it's nice to be able to have a medium to express yourself when words fail you. So I'm interested to seeing what she can contribute. And I hope that people get as much out of her through SPSM Chat as I do on a daily basis. So that's what I've got to say.
Can we also say that she's an excellent dancer in like impromptu text dance videos and stuff?
Wait,
Hudson also knows that I'm currently working on something called Psychology the Musical. For the past couple of days, I cannot stop singing, and I have background in musical theater, so my voice is very musical theatery. And I have been on the phone with people, and I just burst out into like diagnostic facts from the DSM, and I'm like in song.
It's amazingly entertaining.
You haven't even heard me sing, Hudson. Just saying.
Psychology the Musical. I'll go see it.
take that, Hudson. Well,
Better
Hudson,
be at front row, or maybe I'll cast you as like the lead. I don't know.
I'm more of like a supporting role from the audience.
I think that you are a lead character in my story. Thank you.
what the fuck are we talking about, Hudson? Do you have something to say about art therapy specifically?
I do, Rudy. If that is your real name today. Also, thank you. Happy Veterans Day. Yes, I actually I have a really good connection with art therapy. I started therapy when I was a little kid, and it didn't really work very well a lot. And it wasn't really until I found the art that I love, which was woodworking. So like that was the first time I ever really connected with a medium. And so playing with wood, playing with my wood really helped me express myself and helped me get really connected to who I am. And it shuts off all the brain stuff, just lets me focus.
I heard Danielle snickering at that comment. We'll have none of that tonight on SPSM Chat.
I am a child. It's okay.
Okay, so you know what? Let's just first off, hey, at Suicide is Different. I appreciate you too. Let's get to our first question before things like really start devolving. Question number 1. Are you all ready? Are you excited? Hudson's excited.
What is thrilled?
What is your definition of art therapy and its purpose? Let's go with Stephanie.
Okay, so art therapy to me is a modality of therapy involving art and creating and the process while you're creating, the materials you're using. There's so many different aspects to the actual therapy, and like I like to use directives, which are like when you give a client something or a patient something to draw. So sometimes if they have trouble, you can work through giving them a little bit of direction, and they can take it where they want to.
What say you, Danielle?
What is my definition of art therapy? I'm going to just piggyback off of what Stephanie said. I think that is just another example of a different type of modality that allows people to express themselves. One thing that I really like about implementing art therapy when I'm working with clients, and this is, again, a lot of the stuff I know about art therapy is from her, is that it also gives you something that you can reflect back on. So like how Hudson brought up woodworking. My form of art therapy was theater growing up. And it gave me something that, yes, maybe I didn't get like a lot of acclaim for it, but it gave me something that I was able to look back at and be proud of. And I know that some of the clients that I've worked with, that I've implemented this type of work with, are able to go, look, mom, look, dad, like, look what I did. And it's also interesting to be able to see and interpret what is on the piece of paper when I have some of the clients that I work with do drawings, because you can see a lot in the colors and the shapes. And I'm a very analytical person, so I like to look really, really deep, and things may not seem that deep on the surface, but I think that there's always more there. And that's one thing that I really think is cool about art therapy. So I think there's a purpose, no matter what the medium is, of art that's being used.
Have you ever experienced drama therapy?
Actually, it's something I've been considering getting certified in, but right now I'm doing 20 bajillion different things. I'm almost finished writing a book. So I feel like I need to just take like a chill pill. But once I'm, practicing, I do think that I would like to start a drama group once I'm able to get certified in it.
There's only a handful of colleges that certify in drama therapy, and 2 of them are in Southern California.
So you're basically saying I need to move to California.
Yes, now.
All right, I'm going to go pack Stephanie's in my bedroom. So if you see me walking back and forth, that's what I'm doing. I'll be there in I don't know. How long does it take? 3,000 miles?
48 hours.
All right, so I'll see you in about 2.5 days.
In Hudson's car in 48 hours. How about you, Hudson?
I was actually thinking about how to answer this question, and I don't want to get like the old man soapbox out too much, but I'm going to anyway. I think that what art therapy does is it starts to reconnect kids to what they've lost in elementary school, middle school, and high school. As the art programs declined, as the music programs declined, as woodshop declined, kids lost touch with those sides of themselves. Adults lost touch with it. For me, it's one of the only areas where I don't have to overthink everything. I can be very present and in the moment. To me, it's almost a form of meditation, but it also, when I'm doing something with my hands, it gives my brain the space to kind of process without that kind of constant heavy grind and weight. So for me, it helps people reconnect. I think it's a healthy part of anyone is to have some form of art or creation. And I love there's research coming out now about it doesn't even matter if you're bad at art, but what matters is that you do it, and the effects are pretty legion. So that's my answer to that, Rudy.
Well, I got something to say. I hear this whole thing. I've always had a bad time with art. I'm not going to say I hate art because it can be fun, but I suck at it. That's why I love drama therapy, because I love doing drama. I love being on stage. But man, I feel like I'd be the one person, especially if I was in a drama art therapy group, that would feel worse because my art looks like garbage compared to everyone else. Do you ever deal with that, Stephanie? Like that one person, in the group, or that you provide support for?
Every person that I work with. I myself consider myself a bad artist, so I have to work that all the time. I prefer to work abstract for that reason, and abstract is just like using different shapes and colors and not really having a rhyme or reason, but you can still get the message across the same way.
So, in part of your training as an art therapist, do they make you take drawing classes or sculpture or macrame, synchronized swimming?
Yes, I actually, in my second to last year of grad school, we had to work with a stone. The idea of working with a stone was that the stone was your client, and that was a lot of fun.
So is that like in middle school where they give you the baby that you can't move too fast and you have to water it? If you don't, then you fail?
I guess. I mean, it took weeks to see progress, but once that final product came through, it was.
What was that final product?
I love how Hudson is looking down at you.
Sorry, my office is in town, and so my office has the bed in it because in Southern California there's no extra room for anything. So I had to set up the camera in a different place. So hold on. Right, here we go. Is this better, Rudy? That's better. How's that? Ooh.
Well, no, I thought you were looking down at her because she's below on the grid.
No, it's not at all. It's just my camera's in a weird place.
Okay, so let's get to Stephanie before I rudely interrupted.
So yeah, the idea of working with the stone is that the stone was your client. So you had to deal with the frustration of not being able to get through to it, and then finally getting through to it. And then you had to deal with the what if it breaks? How do you fix it? Do you fix it? Do you change your design completely? Just lots of metaphorical stuff, which is actually how I like to work as well. I love
You're disappearing for a second. I have an art therapy thing next to me.
Do you still have the stone?
I do. It's at my house. My mom has taken hold of it and won't give it back, so I guess it's not mine anymore.
Does it have googly eyes?
It does not.
I would have put googly eyes on it.
It's up to interpretation, actually, because many people have seen different things in it.
I really want to meet this stone.
I want to work with googly eyes. I think that's all I got out of this.
Well, that's awesome, both of you. We got our first comment on Facebook. Awesome. So let's see if anyone else on the Twitter stream, if we can put that back on the screen, see if anyone else has joined us on that thing. I'm really glad that you're here, Stephanie, because I always love having the therapist on because first off, they always have their shit together. I don't have to worry too much about them. But also, I mean, it's just like I love meeting good therapists because I've had horrible experiences with therapists. So it's always great to talk to people who are really like doing therapy right, for lack of a better word. Do we see anyone? For those who might be joining us for the first time, welcome to SPSM Chat. So we have, at least on Twitter, but you're more than welcome to reply on Facebook or Mixer on YouTube, your responses. But the way it works on Twitter is that there will be question one. So reply to that with A1 and your response. And then we'll have 4 questions total. So 1 every 10 minutes. So the second question will be coming up in just a few minutes. So just respond with that. Make sure to use the hashtag SPSM and we'll take care of you. We'll make sure to highlight you. And hey, Joelle Marie, one of our lovely other co-hosts who is off this week. Art therapy is more about process than products, so thank you for hearting that. So it is really odd that the programs have students take fine art classes for technique where you are graded on the product. Hi, Francis. How are you doing as well? What did suicide as difference say? Can you scroll down a little bit down there? In education, we talk about different learning. Oh my God, please, that is a sore spot for me. I love teaching different learning styles, but I never got that. So hence why I didn't graduate college. In the same vein, we all have different styles of expression. Speaking as someone who is not great at words, art is such a powerful to reflect on and release emotions. Respond to that, please, Stephanie, because that is huge. The whole like different learning styles and how art can be a different way for people to express their intelligence, that they actually do absorb material and are great learners. What say you to that, Stephanie?
I say a lot to that because I just remember being in school and like I would doodle while I was taking notes, and that helped me in my learning, but it didn't, growing up, teachers would say, don't, like, why are you drawing? Like, it's not appropriate. But thankfully, in grad school, the professors didn't care and they encouraged it. So it shows that you are paying attention to what you're learning.
So is there hope for even me to one day get a degree?
There is hope for anyone, everyone.
There's no hope for me. Question number 2, and this is also a good one, and kind of like why we're here in the first place on SPSM Chat 3.0. What role does creative arts therapy have in suicide prevention? Let's go with Danielle.
What role does creative arts therapy have in suicide prevention? I think that all different modalities of therapy have their place. It's just dependent on the person who's utilizing those techniques. So I know, I think that I actually just touched on it in the last question, but I know that sometimes the clients that I've worked with, either inpatient or outpatient, when they have a struggle putting together the words to share it how they're feeling, sometimes it was easier for them to take markers and a piece of paper, or what is that stuff called, Stephanie? If you could remember, model magic.
Yep.
It's sometimes a lot easier for people to do stuff with their hands and keep themselves, distracted because they don't even realize the words that they need to say are coming out of their mouth. So I do think that in suicide prevention, it does play a big part because it allows people to have some type of a comfort verbally and non-verbally to express themselves and what it is that they may be feeling regarding thoughts of suicide. I know that in the past, when I've used that medium myself in my own treatment, it was easier for me to use pictures because I couldn't find the strength to tell my clinician, I'm feeling suicidal right now, but I could draw what I wanted to do to myself. So I do think that there's a purpose. I think that there's a very big purpose.
What say you, Hudson?
I was just about to tweet out pictures of different wood things I had done as part of my own art therapy, so I got a little distracted.
That's why I called on you.
That is so antisocial. That's really rude. I'm going to be honest and say that I didn't actually hear what the second question was. Could you please repeat the question, Professor?
What what role does creative arts therapy have in suicide prevention?
Yes, a classic question. It's one of my favorites. So I think it comes back down to, like, I'm just going to make this like about my experience and what it's done for me. Some of the most challenging times in my life, woodworking, playing with my wood has really helped me connect to myself, and it's really helped like quiet the demons. It's helped me find kind of like a solid anchor place. It's like the way that I describe it is that, you know, my brain is always going 5,000 miles an hour and looking at all these different things and all the different possibilities. And that's when things can sometimes go south. I think we've all been there. So when I'm working with my wood, everything else disappears, and it lets me be present, which helps me anchor back in reality and make me feel connected. But then I also get that satisfaction of actually making something with my hands. And I think there's something lost. Like, all the work that I do is cerebral, you know, typing or giving talks or, you know, working with people. That aspect of making something tangible makes me feel more real. And so I think that for people that I've talked with, and friends that I know who have been through bouts with suicidal ideation, the ability to create something is almost always been one of their outlets to recenter and bring themselves back. So to me, I think it's a connection with reality, and it's a connection that we're here and we're permanent and we should be here.
And what say you, Stephanie?
Let's see. I have dealt with a lot of people who are suicidal, especially at work. It helps them feel heard, and sometimes you can just like look at a piece of art and like know what's going on, even though we're not meant to interpret what the patient or client is putting out there. That's something for them to let us know, but sometimes you can just clearly see it. I do remember a time when I was working with one of my kids, and I had them write a story, and I distinctly remember it being about a pen being used and then being thrown away. And after they wrote the story, they drew it, and it was the pen being tossed into the trash. And
okay, so I just found out that we are getting comments from Facebook and everywhere else. It's just a problem with our back end. So I see you all. I'm checking you all out. I appreciate the comments. I see you, Dan Reidenberg. You're a cool person as well. Thanks to everyone following along on Twitter. Actually, can we throw up the screen share again on the Twitter, because we got some awesome people joining us on there as well. And while we have a couple extra minutes, oh, here we go. So let's give some shout outs on Twitter, and then I have something to say. Let's while we're getting the screen share going up, I wanted to say something about what was question number 2. What role does creative art therapy have in suicide prevention? And you know, the thing is, I hear things like, oh, like art therapy or all this other mushy stuff doesn't really help the quote unquote seriously mentally ill, doesn't actually save lives, but it is very helpful. And different things help different people. I get it. Some people, they just don't like art, and that's just fine. But we really, really need to see the efficacy in these kind of things. It's just because something sounds, I guess, frou-frou like art therapy. And I get it. Not everyone can afford that. Not everyone has accessibility to that. It is a privilege to have access to art therapy in any form. but it does help, and I wish more people would see that. Just because you might not see the results right away, that doesn't mean it's not beneficial to the people. So we got we got a tweet from Hudson. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Let's keep moving along. Hey Amber, how are you doing? She doesn't want us to move anyway. And I don't think there's any fires going on right now, Amber. At least not in Southern California. So Joelle Marie says creative arts therapies can be used as coping mechanisms, breaking, ripping. Oh, I love breaking. I want to ask you a question about that, Stephanie. Actually, let's get to the rest. Michelle, I can see it being used with peoples who may have difficulty expressing what they're thinking or feeling without using words. When people can communicate their inner world, they can feel understood, and others can empathize. Welcome, Jeanette. Hey, thanks for sharing, Allison. Amber says, for me, it is a form of mindfulness and helps once I can get out of the main crisis and distract myself. I'm glad you have that. I want to ask you, Stephanie, is that a form of art therapy, like smashing things and like just really letting your rage out?
Yes, it can be, because you can put those things together, or you can take the pieces that you want from them and do something with it.
How does that feel to you when you smash something?
Oh, so good.
Who doesn't like smashing things?
I haven't done it that often, but like in the things that I've broken, I have put back together. There's this project called the Broken Bowl Project that I took part in, where you smash a bowl and then you glue the pieces back together. And it involves like each piece that you're putting back together has like a different meaning, and like there are different sizes of the shards and stuff like that. And it's interesting because it's not going to be perfectly put back together. So it's this idea of perfection that like doesn't exist. So
do you like smashing things, Danielle?
Rudy, look at who you're talking to. I go and throw axes at things for fun. Yeah, it's really cathartic to break things, but I think that was one of my favorite things in like my experimentation with art therapy too. Is I forgot what it's called. Like you put the little piece, mosaic. Is that what it's called?
Mosaic, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever Hudson said. But I like doing that too, because like you said, the whole concept of like, broken things can still be beautiful too.
Have you ever heard about, I'm going to butcher the name of this. My apologies, Kintsugi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have classes. I like this. It's like you're a trained professional. Pretty exciting.
Yes.
So there's a similar thing in woodworking, although it's not like steeped in tradition and gold filigree. But there's all these different things about how to repair broken furniture or broken wood pieces. If you ever want to see something really beautiful, and I can tweet some out as well, go online and look for butterfly wood slabs. And it's these tiny, beautiful little bow ties that are used to hold big pieces of wood together that have split. And I don't know I'm still trying to learn how to do it, but it's absolutely beautiful as well.
Let me ask you, Stephanie, has there ever been anything that's come across your table and you were like, that's not art?
No, never. I would never say that something isn't art. Like, if you're dealing with someone, you don't want to make them feel like they're not being heard. And like, even the kids that I work with, like, they'll draw a smiley face and like, you know what, that's great. That's what you can give right now. So.
All right, let's get to question number 3. And that is, how does art therapy benefit different demographics, culture, age, or race? And any other demographics you want to throw in there as well? Let's go to Stephanie.
Okay. I feel like I've worked with a lot of different demographics. So it is beneficial to all demographics. Age does not matter. I will do directives with the seniors, and like sometimes it'll just be like bringing them back to childhood. So it's more so, I feel like it's the materials and how you use them. and how it makes you feel while you're creating. But there's no art therapy doesn't discriminate, so I think it's open to everyone.
What say you? I'm not going to call on you, Hudson. I'm not going to. Danielle?
I agree. So I think that this is a modality of treatment that could be utilized in literally any population. It doesn't matter what your race, your religion, your age is. Art is something that is going to be relevant in any form that art takes on for you. Like for me, it's music, and it's been performing in, theater. Excuse me. And I think that, as you explore different types of art and you find what your little, thing is, it could be, I just totally lost my train of thought. Yep, that thought's gone. I love having attention deficit disorder. It's great. So
Can I piggyback off of that ADD statement for just a second?
I see what you did
you're
there.
more than welcome to.
Yeah, like that. One thing that I've always wondered is, like, I've read some research around how with schizophrenia, different cultures and different demographics can create different types of hallucinations, command hallucinations, voices, etc. Like, it's very, at least a lot of what I've read is that it can be very based in those things. I've always wondered, does art therapy also experience something similar where how much does culture, impact the ability of someone to communicate through art, what types of art they do, and then how they're able to actually, process and work through things. I would be interested in everybody's opinion on that.
Of whose opinion?
Yours, Rudy. Question 3A.
Let's go with Stephanie's response.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was wondering if there was a parallel. So I've read that in schizophrenia, culture can be a deciding factor or determining factor in what types of hallucinations and types of things that people can hear. My question is, do you see things similar in art therapy where people will express art that's more culturally relevant to them, or do they process in ways that are more culturally relevant as opposed to something that's more individual or case by case?
To answer your question, it's a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
There are those like cookie cutter, like if you see a flower, it means this, or if you see bread, maybe it's more. But in different cultures, it means different things. And then again, like it could be on a case by case basis because you don't know who you're dealing with. Like you could be dealing with someone who, I think it's more socioeconomic and culturally based.
I would agree with that, with the socioeconomic. I worked with kids who are like low income. I've worked with kids who are like super duper rich. And I've noticed a difference. And I'm sure, Stephanie, that you probably know the rich kids' artwork too. But you can see a really drastic difference. Like I've done a projective testing once with someone who is very low income, and they didn't utilize all of the space on the paper. They drew very bare. Like I asked them to draw a room, for example, and there was just like a line, and then there was a line like this for a pillow, and it was supposed to represent a bed. Meanwhile, you've got the people who are used to having everything that they want because of, the financial situation that they're raised in, and that whole piece of paper is completely full. So it's really interesting to see the reflection of where they come from on like, that kind of a scale. And then I also noticed that different types of diagnoses in kids that I've worked with, so like the depressive kids, or even the adults that I've done stuff with, they all have a tendency to use the same colors and shapes. Where there's one specific case of, what was it, schizophrenia, I believe this person had. And it was just everywhere. It was just so interesting to see. And this person, she was in like a complete psychosis when we were doing this. And then she picked up the guitar and started playing music. And it was really cool to see how that, ow, I just hit my knee on the table. It's just really interesting to see how things are reflected from culture to culture, from financial situations, and from diagnosis too, because I think it helps as a clinician if you know how to interpret the artwork, what else you could pull out. And it kind of helps or at least it helps me kind of have an idea of what else to do regarding interventions with them.
Now, Stephanie, we've had a few comments about differences in culture. Do you ever have anyone that you support who is like, I don't like drawing, or I don't like art, period. This is a white person thing, or this is a young person thing. Like, how do you deal with people like that who are, because of their culture or other demographic, just like don't quite get it? Why would they actually end up in your office? But that's a whole different story.
To the person who says, I don't like it or I'm not good at it, I just say, well, try. And you know what? I'm not going to force you to do this. Just know that, like, this is another tool that you can use to seek help or, talk non-verbally, or just express yourself, or, I will try to encourage them to work abstract.
Now, would you say that you've seen greater success with, say, young people versus old people, or other different demographics who seem to respond to it, to art therapy better?
It's really on a case-by-case basis, and it depends on I guess it depends on like the unit that I'm dealing with that day. You could have like one person who derails everything, so it depends.
Now, I mean, in the inpatient setting, would you say the people who are, I guess, the most active in art, do you feel like they do the best overall, or even get released sooner because of that?
No, I don't think that their creativity has much to do with like a release date or anything. Thinking back to how long some people have been here, and I wouldn't say that it has anything to do with that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Let's take it back to the Twitter chat, and if any, while we're queuing that up, do you, Hudson or Danielle, have anything to add to our current topic?
I think that I've pretty much said the gist of what I can say about this, because I feel like if I wanted to expand more, I'd be violating HIPAA, and that's not something I'm about to do. Because I have a lot of examples, and it's hard for me to not think of these individual people that I've worked with and refer to them by name right now, because that's just where my brain is at. I still stick with, I think that it's a great tool, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where in the world you live. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's something that you can do no matter what.
Well, and I would also add in there that I think even if you aren't in art therapy, or you're not able to get into a program, or insurance won't cover it or anything, it's still very worth just engaging in art. I think, going back to my comment earlier about education and them cutting out music and art program, I think we've been taught that art has to be perfect. I think we've been taught that art has to be like this pristine thing that's finished. And I think that's a farce. I think it's really just about the doing. And I think it's not about what comes out at the other end, but it's really just about, are you trying to connect with that? And I would argue that, well, I won't argue. My therapist even said, like, it's important for you to do woodworking, to play, with your wood, to get focused, get messy, get things that are, break things, do all those things. But my therapist says it's important for me to do regardless of whether or not, I'm feeling good or not. I think it's part of a healthy living.
I agree.
Do I have to mute your mic, Danielle?
Yeah, I keep coughing and laughing at the same time. But I just think that that's something else that's really cool about art, is that there's no like one definition. You can look at a painting and be like, oh, that's art. But so is writing. And so is woodworking, and so is all of this stuff. It's like art is so, to me, it's such a big topic. I don't know, because I do a lot of things. Like, I have a guitar and a ukulele in the corner, and I have a book that I'm working on, like, sitting right next to me. And to me, those are both forms of art.
You just gotta find it. It's weird. There's weird stuff out there. I had somebody send me a video over the weekend of competition canoe dancing.
I need to try that.
it's more amazing than you can possibly imagine. And like all the jokes or the comments are absolutely hysterical. But at the end of it, like I'm sitting there, I'm looking at him like, this guy is so happy dancing in his canoe and making his canoe dance. That is his art. So like whatever your art may be, however weird it may be, like do it. If it makes you happy and it's not hurting anybody, do it.
Competition, canoe dancing,
right,
and suicide prevention
I'll
next week on SPSM Chat 3.0. Let's get to question number 4. Do you have a specific medium that you feel is most impactful to clients with suicide or ideation? Maybe it's woodwork. Maybe it's canoe dancing. And I guess I can reframe this to people who are not art therapists. I guess you can say in your own experience, what has been most impactful, what's been most therapeutic, whatever the art form it may be. And you know what? Feel free to get weird in the comments on Twitter, okay? We're not judging, okay? Different people have different ways of therapeuticizing, and this is a judgment-free zone. What say you, Stephanie Sampson?
A specific medium. One, you have to be careful of the medium you're using because you don't know how it's going to affect someone. All right. It could bring up memories, or just they might not want to use it. I've actually had kids destroy my markers, so I try to go. It depends on what you're trying to get out of them. So if I want to get more feeling and emotion, I will try to use materials that flow better, like paint or chalk pastel is actually one of my favorites. And I feel like you don't have to be as quote unquote good as other mediums that are more rigid, like pencils or crayons or markers. So
you've been working with a lot of beads lately, with the melting bead things.
Oh, I've been doing fuse beads, if you guys are familiar with those.
Is that like
No, I'm not.
beads?
Yeah, the perler beads.
Yeah.
Why am I the only one who doesn't know about fuse beads?
Yeah.
Rudy, I don't know that we have enough time for that.
Okay. Danielle, go talk.
So with my clients, I'm not as cool as Stephanie, and I don't have as much in my arsenal. I kind of just wing it. I mean, I have a planned wing it.
With your eyebrows or eyelashes?
What?
Do you wing it?
I actually tried to wing, and it doesn't work. I have to just do this to my eyes. But when I go into session, sometimes I'll print out mandalas and I'll bring crayons and markers and be like, have at it, do whatever you got to do. I actually don't like doing that though. But sometimes it's requested by the client. So I, try to appease them sometimes. When I was working with my previous work partner, in the trunk of our work car, we had a container like this that was literally just filled with like a mess of things, like glue sticks and popsicle sticks and glitter and construction paper and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes we'd just be like, here, have at it and do what you want. And it was much more fun to watch them create based off the materials that we provided rather than giving them directions. Because sometimes what they put together based off of like this random pile of what I now see as a total mess, would be something amazing and really creative. And it also, there's one person in particular that I'm thinking of that told like this really amazing story about loss and, how it made the family dynamic change. And this was all just through construction paper and popsicle sticks. It was like the most creative and beautiful, kind of almost painful thing to watch, but it was definitely really cool. So that's kind of how I am. There's not one specific medium. I think, like I said a couple minutes ago, it's whatever works for you. And we all have a different perception of what art is. To me, my favorite thing is music. And if I was better at it, I would be bringing my guitar into session. I did once sit down and teach a kid how to play a little song on the piano. And I wish that was something I had the opportunity to do a lot, because I miss playing the piano. I played for a very big portion of my life. So to me, I would focus more on music. And as previously discussed, drama, because I'm very theatrical.
That's why we have you on here, because you are very theatrical. You're very exciting. There we go. Hudson, there we go.
Is it my turn?
Yes. No, I mean, honestly, I really appreciate all of your input tonight, Hudson.
I can tell. I really feel like I'm a meaningful member of the team, and you're really making me feel important, like I'm valid, and I belong here, Rudy. So thank you from me to you. Thank you. So my answer to this question is a little different. I think to me, the key is that someone is allowed to create without punishment. I think a lot of times, I've seen this even with my own kids of like, if you give them a bunch of crayons and they destroy them all, well, they've destroyed them all. And like, I've found that it's really important when I'm trying to encourage their creativity or mine is to not punish myself for perceived failures, not punish myself if something doesn't turn out how I want. Some of the best pieces of wood I've ever, shaped and worked with, I had problems with. Other people were like, this is great. Like, what's your problem with this? And like, I was ready to throw it in the scrap pile. So I think it's important. You okay, Danielle?
Mm-hmm.
You all right? Okay. Making sure.
I was trying to not laugh and I coughed, so I'm muting myself.
Just making sure. I think that's the key. I think the medium is almost irrelevant. I think things like clay, things that are kind of infinitely reusable, are really good. But at the same time, I think it's more important that you're able to create in a space with no punishment, or no perceived punishment about what comes out of it.
Hudson, why are you always the most well-lit, like crystal clear person on SPSM Chat every time you're on? What are your secrets? Are you? That is cheating.
Is that like a selfie light?
Yeah.
They're like $20 on Amazon, and it is the best $20 you will spend if you're going to be on camera.
Did you buy that just for this?
April Foreman, if you're watching, was like the very first thing she said to me was, "You have to get a Diva light," and she sent me a link, and I ordered it.
Well,
I'm not surprised at all.
You sure did. Stephanie, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Hudson said. It's fine to destroy crayons, but when you're destroying markers and like trying to break them and then self-harm with them, that's that's where I was going with it. I didn't mean to say like I'm fine. Kids break my pastels and oil pastels and crayons all the time, but it's just in how they're using the materials, and like you can see the emotion, like maybe the anger or the sadness, and some kids will say like I'm dissociating, or so it does become harmful at times, but I do try to keep an environment where they are free to create. I was dealing with some adolescents the other day, and I gave them collage. I gave them collage materials and a frame, and I said, just put in here what you want to frame in your life. So I got a lot of mixed messages out of that. Yeah. And I was working with some kids who weren't taking it seriously at first, and by the end, like I processed with them at the end, and they were like, wow, I got a lot more out of this than I thought, because they did bring up their SI.
Yeah. Now, for those who are not in the know, what does SI stand for?
Suicidal ideation, and SH is suicidal or self-harm.
Thanks, Stephanie. So let me ask you, Stephanie, like, do you personally use art therapy for your own mental health?
Oh, absolutely. Throughout the program, it was all art therapy all the time. So I've actually taken a bit of a hiatus, but I'm trying to get back into it. I do try to create in the groups that I'm running to show them that there's no hierarchy and I'm on the same level, but I'm still holding the space for you guys to create in.
All right, so let's take it to final thoughts. And while we're doing the final thoughts, if you can we can put up the screen share and just give some people some more shout outs as well. I guess we got Amber, we got Grace, we got Joelle, who are vying for MVPs. I want to give a shout out to Jessica Fertig on Facebook, who is bringing the fire on that platform. I appreciate you. We are on multi platforms, and that is so cool. So if you are joining us from anywhere else, even somewhere where we didn't post, like if someone's bootlegging SPSM chat, I want to know about it. So let's go to final thoughts while we're queuing up the screen share. Let's go to Hudson. Final thoughts, Hudson.
Can you come back to me so I can do the piggy update as part of my final thoughts?
Sure. Final thoughts, Danielle.
My final thoughts. My final thoughts are that I think that when you are considering utilizing any type of art therapy as part of your treatment is to be open to different types of materials and different types of messages. I know that I've done, I remember when I first started at the agency that I work with, we did like a staff meeting where we did an art therapy project, and I completely lost my shit. I could not stop crying because I didn't realize my own feelings until I saw them out on the paper. So sometimes you have to, expect the unexpected. And remember that art means different things for different people. Like I said, I could sit and listen to guitar music for 72 hours and feel a lot better. Going to concerts and listening to live music is my form of catharsis when it comes to art. So just be open and explore different types of art and figure out what it means to you and what works for you. That would be my final thought.
Now, do you have a piggy update, Danielle?
There's a piggy on my Instagram, and its name is Hamlet, because I'm a big fan of that little guy, and I'm trying to promote his social media, because that's what friends do for each other.
That sure is what it is. Before we get to the piggy update, let's get to Stephanie, and then we'll completely devolve. Final thoughts, Stephanie.
Final thoughts are that if you are going to be a participant in art therapy, my belief is that whatever is going to come out is going to come out through your subconscious. So you will get something out of it, knowingly or unknowingly, even if you're not looking for it.
Before we get to Hudson, I have some final thoughts. I don't care what anyone says. Synchronized swimming is an art. Time for piggy update. Let's go to Hudson Harris.
Hi, Rudy. It's Hudson here with Hamlet the Pig. Hamlet has had a very eventful week. He had a video go viral on Reddit and now has an agent representing him for said video. And now has an Instagram if you would like to follow him, because I've decided it's more important that he be able to share his story than me on Instagram. So at Sir Hamlet Pig, please come and say hello. He will do request videos for any vegetables you want him to eat, and I will send them to you. My final thoughts about art therapy would just be do not hesitate to practice. Do not hesitate to take classes. Nobody gets good at art. Hold on. Nobody just gets really good at art. It takes practice. And in order to practice, you need to take classes and learn. Be willing to risk and be willing to let your imagination run wild. And if you have any pig-related art or you want to draw pictures of Hamlet, I would love to see them and put them on Instagram.
Oh, I'm totally going to do it.
So what's Hamlet's Instagram account?
Sir Hamlet Pig.
Sir Hamlet Pig. Now, are you able to retire early now because Hamlet has an agent?
There is a very strong likelihood that I will get dozens of cents. So no, I'm not retiring.
Okay, so before we wrap up, Stephanie, is there anything else you wanted to mention and promote? Like, is there a way people can connect with you? Does your piggy have an Instagram?
You can find me on Instagram at StephMJS. I'm also on Twitter. And I believe you can find me on Facebook through that too. My final words would be to find your medium, because there is a medium out there for you.
There's also a TV show called Medium.
And I did post competition synchronized canoe dancing. If anybody's interested on the SPSM chat, it's a sight to behold, and the comments are pure gold. I'm
telling you, if you're an expert in synchronized dancing canoe driving, DM SPSM at SPSM Chat, and we'll put you on camera, okay? We want that, okay? Okay, so that's going to do it for this week. SPSM Chat. Next week, we're having guest Sheila Weller, author of Carrie Fisher, A Life on the Edge. We're going to be talking about the dark side of Hollywood. Join us next Sunday.
So sultry, Rudy.
Next Sunday, 6 p.m. I sound like the Carl's Jr. commercial guy.
Ew.
Yes, Carl's Jr. Bacon Double Cheeseburger. Sheila Weller will be here.
Doing voiceovers. You should probably talk to Hamlet's agent. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I can't compete with Hamlet. So
I can't either.
Until that happens, I got to continue hosting SPSM Chat, which is the best thing going today. Okay, ever. Whether you like it or not, we're the best thing going ever. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you. Thank you, Hudson. Thank you, Hamlet. Thank you, Danielle. And I can't wait until next Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, hold your piggies close.